In the capital city of Italy, the crime rate is currently high, and many citizens protest against the government to immediately solve this issue. At the same time, there is a man named Enzo, who is being chased by two motorcycle cops. The reason Enzo is chased is because he has stolen an expensive watch, and after running for a while, he decides to escape toward the riverbank. There, he finds a place he has already planned to hide in, so he enters it and tries not to be seen by the police. Enzo hides in the water, and after knowing the cops have left, he wants to climb back to the street with the help of a barrel underneath him. But right after he jumps on it, the barrel suddenly breaks, and he falls into it. The barrel contains dark-colored water that covers him, but Enzo is still okay, so he manages to get back to the street. As he tries to climb, he vomits the dark water, indicating that he has swallowed a lot of it without realizing that he has drunk nuclear waste from the river. After getting back to the street, Enzo gets on a bus to continue his escape, and during the time, he vomits blood that is black in color. Moments later, he becomes weak from his condition and also starts coughing. When he arrives at his apartment unit, Enzo begins vomiting again, throwing up the same dark wastewater. He cannot sleep because his body keeps shivering, but he tries to endure all the pain. Eventually, Enzo manages to sleep, and by the next day, his condition gets better, and there is no more black water. Enzo then goes out to look for someone named Sergio, and when he asks his acquaintance, the person says that Sergio is busy, so Enzo decides to wait for him. His business is a meeting with his gangster group, who deal illegal drugs as their underground business, led by a man named Fabio. Fabio has a psychopathic personality, is obsessed with wealth and fame, and owns several fierce dogs that can kill people. Although Fabio is the leader, a fellow member who is also his childhood friend, named Antonio, sometimes disagrees with him, which causes their relationship to become distant. At that time, Fabio's gang plans to rob an armored truck filled with money and also steal some drugs from smugglers. Soon after, one of Fabio's subordinates arrives and brings him the phone Fabio has ordered. But Fabio gets angry when he finds out that the phone is white, saying he doesn't like that color. When another subordinate tries to leave to carry out a task, Fabio vents his anger by smashing the first subordinate's head with the phone, and finally, he dies. After that meeting, Sergio comes out to meet Enzo and offers the stolen watch for 100 euros. Coincidentally, Fabio has asked Sergio to meet two people regarding the drugs, and since he already knows Enzo as someone who often looks for money by stealing, he invites him to come along for the job. Before that, Sergio takes him to the apartment unit below Enzo's, where Enzo sees many robot-themed pictures on the walls. There, he meets Sergio's daughter, Alessia, who keeps talking about her favorite old anime about robots called Steel Geek, which makes Enzo think she is a bit weird. Alessia loves her father so much that she sees him as a commander from the anime, which makes her believe that her father will always protect her. After taking everything they need, Enzo and Sergio go to the meeting place to pick up the two people who smuggle the drugs. On the way, Sergio says that his daughter has been a little odd since her mother died. After picking up the two smugglers, they already planned to take the drugs out of their anus. But when they arrive at an unfinished building to do it, one of the smugglers becomes sick because the drugs packet has exploded inside his stomach. So his friend begs Sergio to take him to the hospital. But Sergio doesn't care and still wants to take the drugs. When they reach the 9th floor, which has water access, the sick smuggler suddenly has a seizure and ends up dying. This makes his friend angry, and he blames Sergio for not going to the hospital, but Sergio tries to calm him down by offering their drug drink. While Sergio answers a call from his colleague, the smuggler refuses the drink and grabs Sergio's gun. Without much thought, the smuggler shoots Sergio, and the shot is heard by his partner on the call. Sergio responds by smashing the guy's head against a pillar, but he ends up dying anyway from another shot. The other smuggler is still alive, so he also shoots Enzo, who falls from a great height. In a situation like that, someone should have died or at least been critically injured if lucky. But none of that happens to Enzo, who surprisingly regains consciousness in a normal condition. He cannot believe it, so he decides to run back home while thinking about what has just happened to him. When he arrives at his apartment, he meets Alessia, who is still waiting for her father, who hasn't come back. She asks Enzo about it, and he says he doesn't know, which makes her confused. Enzo then checks his gunshot wound on his shoulder, which strangely doesn't hurt that much, but he still treats it as usual. Hearing Alessia keep asking where her father is makes Enzo frustrated, so he punches the door, and it suddenly breaks. After Alessia finally leaves, Enzo becomes confused by his strength before trying to cover the hole with a cabinet. But again, his strength allows him to easily lift and move the cabinet. He then tries to crush a metal object and does it effortlessly, concluding that he has gained superpowers from the nuclear waste he encountered. Because of this, he uses his powers to steal an ATM machine, wearing all black clothes as a disguise. Even though there is a CCTV there, he still steals the ATM, and in the end, he gets a lot of money and can buy more of his favorite food. Enzo then checks his wound, which has completely disappeared, showing that he also has fast healing abilities. Meanwhile, at a clubbing venue, Fabio's gang meets with another gangster group, led by a woman named Nunzia. Fabio's gang has partnered with Nunzia's group to be the ones delivering the drugs, which Nunzia's gang usually orders. During that time, one of his men informs Fabio that Sergio is missing, so the next day, Fabio's gang goes to Sergio's place. There, they meet Alessia, who is terrified and starts screaming, which Enzo hears from above. Fabio asks where Sergio is, which, of course, his daughter doesn't know. Not long after that, Enzo comes downstairs and signals Alessia not to say anything about him. Fabio then tells Enzo not to stay on this floor, feeling uncomfortable having someone watching his gang. Fabio later tries to take the drugs that Sergio has stored, but they fail to find them. Seeing her favorite anime being grabbed, Alessia gets very angry, and she scratches Fabio. This makes her smooth face get hurt, so Fabio uses a meat knife toward Alessia's face and asks again where her father is. Suddenly, a man comes through the window. The man is Enzo, but Fabio's gang hardly recognizes him because of his appearance. Before a fight happens, Enzo uses his super strength to lift Fabio's fat lower body and throw him toward the table. Enzo also has strong defense, so all attacks seem ineffective on him. After they all get beaten, Enzo tells Fabio to leave and release Alessia, which Fabio agrees to. But just after Alessia escapes, Fabio slashes Enzo's leg before running away. After seeing Enzo steady, Alessia asks if they can meet again, but Enzo says they will never meet again. However, after seeing Alessia's dangerous condition for him, Enzo decides to let her stay with him. This makes Alessia happy, and her chatter about her favorite anime gets worse, especially when comparing Enzo to the main character in her favorite anime named Hiroshi Shiba, who can transform into the Jig robot. While Alessia keeps chatting, Enzo focuses on his leg wound, specifically his broken pinky toe, and tries to reconnect it, thinking his healing ability can fix it. After seeing Alessia already asleep, Enzo checks Sergio's belongings that he holds and learns about Fabio's gang's plan to rob a lot of money carried by an armored car later. The next day, Enzo checks his pinky toe wound and finds out the toe won't reconnect. He prepares to go rob the armored car, but first asks Alessia where her father put her when he imprisoned her. Alessia says it's an orphanage, so Enzo places Alessia at that orphanage and will pick her up tomorrow. Alessia knows Enzo will rob again, so she wants to give him a Jig mask she made, but Enzo politely refuses. At first, Alessia says she doesn't like being there, but after Enzo promises to buy her a princess dress, she agrees to wait there. Meanwhile, Fabio's gang watches a viral video about Enzo robbing an ATM yesterday. They then go back to their base, where Nunzia's henchmen wait to take the drugs from the smugglers. After learning Sergio is dead because he was shot, Fabio asks for time to replace the drugs worth 200,000 euros. The henchmen agree, so Fabio's gang has enough time to rob the armored car as planned. When the car arrives as expected, they see Enzo already there and stopping the car with a rock throw. After the car stops, Enzo approaches and disables the guards inside. Then he forcibly opens the back door to take all the money. Fabio is angry and shoots Enzo from a distance, deciding to cancel the mission. As a result, Enzo gets richer and can buy anything he wants, especially a projector to make a movie screen so he can watch his new favorite Jig anime comfortably. While relaxing, the doorbell rings, and police come delivering Alessia. The police find Alessia walking alone in the middle of the street and suggest not leaving her alone. This makes Enzo angry because Alessia brought the police to his place, which Alessia answers because Enzo didn't come to the orphanage, so she decided to go home alone. Even so, Enzo doesn't want to endanger Alessia by leaving her there, so he offers to take her somewhere else, which Alessia refuses. She then sees Enzo liking her favorite anime, so she wants to watch it together, which is hard for Enzo to refuse. They watch together until Alessia accidentally touches Enzo's hand. He thinks Alessia wants to hold his hand, but shortly after, he suddenly becomes scared of Alessia's movements as if she is traumatized by her past, apparently because she experienced sexual abuse. After Enzo calms her and promises not to hurt her, Alessia asks to go save her father, whom she thinks is trapped in a fiery cave like in her favorite anime story. So Enzo takes her to a children's playground with a cave, but Alessia thinks it cannot be the fiery cave. They then walk to the mall, where Enzo wants to buy Alessia the princess dress he promised. After a while, Alessia sees a red princess dress as she wants. But even after getting her favorite dress, Alessia still worries about her father, who she hasn't found, so she becomes sad again. When Enzo asks what's wrong, Alessia asks him to save her father by shouting, so Enzo finally reveals that her father has died. This makes Alessia angry, thinking Enzo is unworthy of his superpower, and that is why he is always alone. She then leaves him. She boards a tram, but shortly after, Enzo stops her departure, which makes many people realize he is the supervillain who robbed the ATM. He deliberately does this so he can apologize and wants to make amends by taking Alessia to her father's grave. As a result, Alessia believes him again, and he lifts her like a princess while many people record the video. Not long after, a bomb explodes in the distance as a sign that another crime happens there. So Enzo uses this chance to escape from the crowd. They then go to where Sergio's body is kept. Alessia kisses her father's forehead as a farewell before she prepares to be secured again by Enzo from Fabio's gang. Meanwhile, Fabio learns that some residents start to become fans of the supervillain, especially someone who draws the villain's picture on the wall of his base, making Fabio jealous of his unmet ambition of popularity. He then returns to his base, where Antonio is about to visit Nunzia's gang to give them 100,000 euros first to calm them down. When Antonio admits he borrowed the money from a colleague, Fabio becomes angry, feeling ashamed because their gang's problem is known by others, so a debate happens between him and Antonio. Antonio argues he did it to maintain their gang, but Fabio blames the Superman-like man who stole money from the armored car, which should have been theirs. Even so, Antonio sticks to his decision to meet Nunzia, which makes Fabio's psychopathic side emerge. He orders his men to release their fierce dogs to kill Antonio. As a result, Antonio gets bitten by the dogs, while Fabio stays silent to hear his childhood friend suffer, and finally, Antonio dies. After that, Fabio sees the news about the Superman who becomes more viral, then sees the ATM robbery video of him, which already gets 40 million views, and only 13 people dislike it. As a result, Fabio becomes more jealous, and he vents his frustration by smashing a photo of the music group he once joined when he was a teenager. He then goes to his associate to borrow another 100,000 euros, promising to pay it back later. Not long after, a group of people ambush them, and it turns out they are from Nunzia's gang. Even though Fabio already tells them that he has the money, Nunzia still shoots Fabio's associate and threatens to burn him because she feels angry that Fabio doesn't pay her drug runner on time. When Fabio is about to be burned, he starts to cry, and they all laugh at him. Suddenly, Fabio's associate, who turns out to be still alive, appears, and both he and Fabio shoot all of Nunzia's men dead. But Nunzia manages to escape, which makes Fabio furious, and he also kills his own associate, blaming him for being too late to save him after Fabio is already humiliated. Back at his hideout, Fabio sees his guard dogs all dead, and so are his other men, strongly suspecting this to be Nunzia's doing. But after further investigation, they find one fat henchman still alive. They then watch the latest news about the Superman and finally discover that he is the same man they once met in Sergio's apartment. After knowing the truth, Fabio invites his fat henchman to hunt down the Superman. Meanwhile, Enzo and Alessia plan to hide in a hotel, but they don't realize that Fabio is already watching them from outside and follows them to the hotel. After seeing Alessia asleep, Enzo receives a phone call from someone, and that someone turns out to be Fabio, who suddenly enters the room before Enzo gets shot and knocked out. He then wakes up completely tied with duct tape, and Fabio shows him Alessia, who is already kidnapped. Fabio's goal is not to take back the money or the drugs, but to find out how Enzo gets his superpower. Before he gets the answer, he reveals his biggest ambition, to become more famous than Nunzia's gang, because her group is already well known as a terrifying terrorist group, thanks to the bombs they detonated around the city. That's why Fabio plans to carry out an even bigger bombing than Nunzia's, by bombing a football stadium during a derby match so that all media will feature Fabio on every channel. He then asks about the superpower, but Enzo doesn't know how he gets it. He only knows that he once fell into a barrel of black water. Fabio doesn't believe this and tells him to bring him the barrel. Meanwhile, Alessia is in a car with the fat guy, and she says she wants to pee. The fat guy, of course, doesn't believe her, but it pushes him to try something nasty on her. Feeling disgusted, Alessia pulls out her knitting needle and stabs him in the neck. At that moment, another car approaches. They are Nunzia's gang coming to finish off Fabio, just as Alessia manages to escape the car. A shootout breaks out, and Fabio escapes using Alessia as a human shield. But his effort is useless, and Fabio gets shot by Nunzia's gang. Tragically, Alessia also gets hit by the bullets. Nunzia then proceeds to burn Fabio, something she delayed earlier, and he's engulfed in flames before falling into the river. At the brink of death, Alessia delivers a message to Enzo to save everyone in danger by becoming Jig, and finally, she dies. The next day, Fabio's hand emerges from the water surface as a sign that he successfully transforms into a superhuman like Enzo. Because of his burnt and messed up appearance, he gives himself a makeover to look good again before arriving at Nunzia's base in his new appearance. After killing one of her men, Nunzia is shocked to see him. Fabio puts down his phone to record his own actions. Realizing this, Nunzia becomes helpless as she watches the new Fabio, and she is crushed to death. Satisfied with the result, Fabio notices a door that catches his attention, which leads to a room full of Nunzia's gang's weapon supplies, including a bomb he thinks would be perfect for his plan. Meanwhile, on the street, Enzo still mourns Alessia's death, feeling like he has no will to live. At that moment, a police officer sees Enzo from a distance, so the driver reverses the car to approach him. But because they are too focused on Enzo, they don't realize another car is coming from behind, causing the driver to panic and swerve, resulting in a crash. The police immediately rescue the driver, but he says his child is still trapped in the car. Enzo hears this, so he quickly saves the child, just in time. As a result, the driver feels grateful to Enzo, and that's when Enzo realizes Alessia's message, to save everyone in need. At the same time, many people witness the event, and their view of the supervillain starts to change. Soon after, he sees a breaking news story about Fabio's video destroying Nunzia's gang, with a message to everyone, including the government, that he has been ignored, stepped on, and isolated in a dog-infested house for years. But now he has changed, and a big explosion will soon be seen by everyone. Enzo strongly suspects Fabio really wants to bomb the stadium, so he borrows someone's motorcycle. When asked by the rider who he is, he doesn't answer with his name but says Hiroshi Shiba, Alessia's favorite anime character. Once he arrives outside the stadium, a few scalpers try to sell him tickets, but Enzo refuses because he can enter the stadium without one. Soon after, he spots Fabio from afar. After Enzo sees the bomb timer Fabio carries, the battle between the two superhumans begins. Fabio's attacks are just as strong as Enzo's, but Enzo doesn't have much time to fight endlessly because he must seize the bomb timer from Fabio. While they are fighting, the police detect the commotion through CCTV, so they begin to deploy units to capture them both. Moments later, Fabio successfully installs the timer on the bomb in a car, and the countdown starts from 5 minutes while he runs in the opposite direction. Knowing this, Enzo uses the car to move the bomb away from the crowd, but unfortunately, the police block his path. Even though Enzo tells them there's a bomb in the car, the police don't believe him, so he is forced to push the car while using it as a shield from their gunfire until Enzo finally manages to escape while carrying the bomb. He then sees a river, so he throws it in that direction, and Fabio immediately tackles him at the same time, causing his throw to fail, with the bomb still remaining in the crowd. After Fabio hits Enzo's head until he gets weak, he runs toward the bomb to cut the countdown down to just 15 seconds. Seeing this, Enzo immediately gets up to stop Fabio's action by pushing together with him into the river. The bomb finally explodes, causing the water to splash upward. And not long after that, a human head flies toward the audience, which turns out to be Fabio's head, as a sign that Fabio is finally died. Sometime later, many media outlets report that Enzo goes missing and is presumed dead. But he's already considered a hero by many people, knowing that he chooses good over evil. However, no one knows that Enzo is actually still alive, and he is now standing at the most iconic place in his country. The movie ends with Enzo determined to protect the city, and finally, he wears the Jig mask Alessia had knitted for him. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notification so you don't miss the latest recaps. Thanks for watching and wish you good health.